Emotional maturity is not something that arrives fully formed. It is shaped in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It develops in the spaces between what we want to do and what we know is right to do. It grows when we choose patience over impulse. It is refined when we learn to sit with discomfort rather than escape from it. Emotional maturity is not inherited, nor is it a personality trait. It is a skill, and like any skill, it requires consistent practice and self-honesty. Many people believe emotional maturity appears when life becomes easier, but the opposite is true. It is born from hardship. It is formed in the moments we feel lost, disappointed, or misunderstood. These are the spaces where people may either break or build. The emotionally mature choose to build. They take their experiences, especially the painful ones, and use them as instruction rather than limitation. They ask, "What can this teach me?" instead of "Why did this happen to me?" This growth does not happen quickly. It requires slowing down instead of reacting. It requires observing thoughts and feelings before acting on them. Emotional maturity shows itself when someone pauses to understand their own emotions before projecting them onto someone else. It is the space between stimulus and response. In that space, a person decides who they are and how they will show up. An emotionally mature woman does not chase validation because she has learned to validate herself. She does not look for someone else to fill emotional gaps that she can fill on her own. This internal security comes from the work she has done to confront her insecurities, fears, and old patterns. She has learned to sit with her emotions long enough to understand them, rather than run from them or assign them to others. She understands that emotions are real, but not always accurate. Feelings are signals, not instructions. Instead of reacting impulsively to every emotional wave, she reads the wave, understands it, and chooses how to respond. This allows her to remain grounded even during conflict or uncertainty. Her calmness is not detachment. It is wisdom earned through many moments of choosing to observe rather than explode. Emotionally mature women know that self-awareness is the foundation of growth. They ask themselves hard questions. They take accountability even when it hurts. They are willing to admit when they are wrong, not because they lack confidence, but because they know that accountability strengthens identity rather than weakens it. They understand that growth requires honesty, especially with oneself. This maturity also shows in how they treat others. They practice empathy not as a tactic, but as a natural extension of self-awareness. They understand that every person is carrying their own experiences, beliefs, and wounds. They communicate with intention rather than accusation. They listen to understand, not to defend. Their presence makes others feel seen and respected. Their emotional maturity expresses itself in their boundaries. They do not fear saying no, because they have learned that protecting their emotional well-being is not selfish. It is necessary. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. They communicate what aligns with their values and what does not. And they do so without guilt or apology. This maturity cannot be given or borrowed. It cannot be faked through appearance, charm, or confidence alone. It is the result of introspection, patience, and emotional discipline. It is built in the moments when one chooses growth over ego, honesty over avoidance, and understanding over reaction. Emotional maturity is earned through the decision to keep learning, to keep improving, and to keep showing up with intention, even when it is difficult. It is a lifelong practice, developed day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. Confidence that comes from self-knowledge is not loud or attention-seeking. It is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. When a woman knows who she is, what matters to her, and what she stands for, she no longer needs to convince anyone of her value. Her presence communicates it for her. She carries herself with a calm assurance that can be felt before she speaks. This kind of confidence does not come from approval, praise, or external validation. It comes from spending time with herself, understanding her strengths and weaknesses, and accepting both without shame. Self-knowledge develops through reflection. It asks a woman to pause and examine her inner world rather than be defined by the external one. She learns to ask herself meaningful questions. What do I value? What do I need? What do I want to contribute? Who am I when no one is watching? These questions are not answered quickly. They require honesty and patience. But as she answers them, clarity replaces confusion, and confidence begins to grow from the inside out. Knowing her values acts like a compass. She no longer needs to be swayed by trends, by pressure, or by the expectations of others. When she makes decisions, she does so from alignment rather than fear. She does not need to compare herself to others because she is rooted in her own path. This inner clarity allows her to move through life with direction, even when the road is uncertain. She does not need guarantees. She trusts herself to navigate whatever comes. Boundaries become easier to establish when a woman knows her worth. She understands that not every situation deserves her time, her emotional energy, or her presence. She does not fear disappointing others because she no longer measures her value by their approval. Her yes has meaning because her no has strength. She is not harsh, but she is clear. Clarity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who stand firmly in who they are. She also stops seeking relationships to feel complete. Instead, she chooses relationships that are mutual, empowering, and respectful. She is not looking to be rescued or fixed. She is already whole. Because of this, she attracts individuals who are also grounded and willing to meet her at her level. Her relationships improve not because she demands more, but because she expects more from herself and those she allows close. Her communication becomes more intentional. She speaks from understanding rather than insecurity. She does not need to dominate a conversation to be heard. She listens without fear. She expresses her needs without apology. Her confidence allows her to express vulnerability without feeling weak. This balance between strength and softness makes her presence impactful. Her emotional responses shift as well. She does not react impulsively or defensively when confronted. Instead, she evaluates her feelings and chooses how to respond. This does not mean she avoids emotion. It means she understands it. Her confidence allows her to sit with uncomfortable feelings without losing herself in them. She can face sadness, disappointment, or frustration without collapsing under their weight. Her goals and ambitions also become clearer. She no longer pursues success to prove herself to others. She pursues it because it aligns with who she is. She sets goals based on fulfillment rather than recognition. This makes her progress steady, intentional, and sustainable. Her achievements carry meaning because they reflect her identity, not her need for acceptance. The way she moves through challenges changes. Instead of seeing obstacles as evidence of inadequacy, she sees them as opportunities for growth. Setbacks do not define her. Criticism does not break her. She is anchored in herself, so external circumstances can shift without shaking her core. This resilience is not forceful, it is grounded. It is the kind of resilience that endures. This confidence, built on self-knowledge, becomes a form of radiance. It is not something she tries to project. It simply emanates from her. It influences how she walks, how she speaks, how she listens, and how she connects with others. It is the kind of confidence that leaves an impression long after she has left the room. Emotionally mature women approach communication with intention. They understand that words hold weight, and they choose them with care. They do not speak to win, to dominate, or to defend a fragile ego. They speak to connect, to understand, and to be understood. Their clarity in communication comes from an inner steadiness. They are not rushing to prove a point or demand validation. They are grounded enough to listen first and respond with purpose rather than reaction. Avoiding difficult conversations may feel easier in the moment, but it leads to resentment, confusion, and emotional distance. Emotionally mature women know this, so they choose honesty even when it is uncomfortable. They are willing to address misunderstandings early before they grow into fractures. They do not hide their feelings to keep the peace, because they know suppressed emotions will eventually surface in destructive ways. They create true peace by creating clarity. Their honesty is not harsh. They do not weaponize truth or use it as a tool for superiority. They understand that how something is said is just as important as what is said. They communicate with empathy, taking into account the feelings and perspectives of others. They choose tone, timing, and intention thoughtfully. Their goal is not to attack but to build, not to shame but to reveal, not to shut down but to open space for real dialogue. Listening is a core part of their communication. They do not listen to reload or to prepare a counter-argument. They listen to understand. They are not threatened by someone else's perspective because they are secure in their own. They can hear feedback without spiraling into defensiveness. They can witness another person's emotions without absorbing them or feeling responsible for them. Their presence in a conversation feels steady and safe. They articulate their needs clearly. They do not expect others to guess, assume, or intuit what they are feeling. They understand that people are not mind readers. They say what they mean and mean what they say. This clarity prevents confusion and fosters trust. When they set boundaries or express desires, they do so calmly and directly, without apology or aggression. Their communication is consistent and grounded. They understand the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic and emotional. Responding is thoughtful and intentional. When they feel triggered, they pause. They recognize the emotion rising and give themselves a moment to process it before speaking. This pause is a sign of strength, not suppression. It allows them to express themselves with clarity rather than letting anger, fear, or insecurity speak for them. Conflict does not scare them. They know that healthy relationships require it. Disagreement is not a threat to connection, but a pathway to deeper understanding if handled with respect. They approach conflict with curiosity rather than combat. They ask questions. They clarify assumptions. They seek to understand before insisting on being understood. Their goal is resolution and connection, not victory. Their communication also reflects responsibility. They take ownership of their words, actions, and emotional responses. Instead of blaming others for how they feel, they express their emotions as their own experience. They might say, "I feel hurt when this happens," rather than "you make me feel this way." This subtle shift opens dialogue rather than triggering defensiveness. It allows both sides to show up with accountability. Because they communicate with clarity and honesty, their relationships tend to be deep and intentional. People feel safe around them because they know where they stand. There is no confusion, mixed signals, or silent resentment. Their relationships are built on transparency rather than performance. They invite others to show up with the same authenticity, creating mutual trust and respect that is rare and lasting. Their communication becomes a form of leadership, not leadership by authority, but leadership by example. They show that honesty can coexist with kindness, that vulnerability can coexist with strength, and that conflict can coexist with love. Their clarity creates emotional alignment in both themselves and the people around them, allowing connection to grow with depth and purpose. Emotional maturity creates a sense of groundedness that is steady and reliable. A woman who is grounded does not live in reaction to the world around her. She does not let every opinion, comment, or passing emotion dictate her sense of self. She has learned to regulate her own internal state. This steadiness is not coldness, it is strength. It allows her to remain calm even when circumstances are unpredictable. She is centered, not easily shaken, because she has built her stability from within rather than depending on external factors. Being Sufficient does not mean rejecting help or refusing connection. It means she is not afraid to be alone with herself. She does not see solitude as emptiness, but as space to recharge, reflect, and align with her values. She can enjoy her own company. She has discovered that fulfillment begins internally, not from relationships, achievements, or praise. When she enters relationships, she does so as a complete person, not as someone seeking to be completed. This difference changes the entire dynamic of her connections. Her independence is emotional rather than just logistical. She does not need constant reassurance to feel secure. She does not rely on others to carry her through every difficult moment. She has developed tools within herself to manage stress, uncertainty, and disappointment. She may lean on others when needed, but it is a choice, not a dependency. This makes her presence feel balanced rather than demanding. People feel comfortable around her because she is not draining or seeking validation. Decision-making becomes clearer for her. Because she knows herself and trusts her judgment, she does not feel easily pressured or manipulated. She takes the time to think, to evaluate, and to listen to her intuition. She moves with intention, not impulse. This gives her actions a sense of purpose and direction. She is not chasing approval. She is aligning with what is meaningful and right for her. This clarity can be felt when she speaks and when she acts. She recognizes that emotional responsibility is part of being self-sufficient. She does not blame others for her feelings, and she does not hold others accountable for her personal happiness. She understands that while others can contribute to her joy, the foundation of that joy must come from her relationship with herself. This mindset creates emotional freedom. She can love others deeply without losing herself in them. Her grounded nature also changes how she handles challenges. She does not collapse when life becomes difficult. She allows herself to feel pain, disappointment, or frustration, but she does not let those emotions define her identity. She processes them, learns from them, and continues forward. She has built resilience not from avoiding pain, but from working through it. This resilience is quiet, steady, and deeply admired by others. In relationships, her self-sufficiency prevents codependence. She does not cling. She does not control. She does not fear distance or change. She allows others to be themselves because she is secure in who she is. She does not need to possess anyone to feel valued. She understands that love grows best when both people have space to breathe, evolve, and express themselves honestly. Her love is grounded, not grasping. She appreciates support and partnership, but she does not expect someone else to fix her, save her, or define her. She seeks companionship, not completion. She respects her own emotional needs and honors the emotional needs of those around her. She can give without losing, and she can receive without guilt. Her relationships become healthy because they are based on mutual respect rather than emotional dependency. Her grounded presence naturally influences the environment around her. People feel calmer when she is near. Her steadiness becomes a source of reassurance, not because she is trying to impress or control, but simply because she is aligned with herself. Her presence is peaceful without being passive, strong without being forceful. This balance makes her powerful in a quiet, undeniable way. This grounded self-sufficiency is not accidental. It is the result of inner work, emotional awareness, and choosing growth over avoidance. It is built through time, reflection, honesty, and practice. It makes her someone who can stand firmly in who she is, no matter what shifts around her. When a woman is emotionally mature, her relationships take on a different quality. She approaches connection with intention, not impulse. She is not looking for temporary validation or surface-level attention. She is looking for alignment, emotional, intellectual, and ethical. She understands that real connection requires honesty and shared values, not just chemistry or convenience. Because of this, the relationships she forms carry depth from the beginning. She sees relationships as spaces of mutual growth. She is not seeking someone to complete her or rescue her. She enters relationships already grounded in who she is, and she seeks partners, friends, and companions who are also committed to growth. Her interactions are not about taking or possessing. They are about expanding, learning, and evolving together. She chooses people who are emotionally available enough to meet her in vulnerability and maturity. Her emotional maturity allows her to be present in the relationship without losing herself in it. She does not sacrifice her individuality for companionship, nor does she expect others to abandon themselves for her. She understands the importance of maintaining identity, dreams, and personal fulfillment alongside connection. This balance allows her relationships to breathe rather than tighten. It creates room for authenticity instead of performance. Trust becomes a cornerstone of her relationships. She does not rely on suspicion, games, or emotional manipulation to maintain closeness. She trusts because she has chosen partners and friends who have shown themselves to be trustworthy. And she communicates openly when trust needs to be rebuilt. She does not avoid the uncomfortable emotional work that relationships require. She faces it with patience and clarity, knowing that trust is maintained through consistency and transparency. Her love is steady rather than dramatic. She does not equate chaos with passion. She does not confuse emotional volatility with depth. Instead, she understands that real intimacy is built on emotional stability, understanding, curiosity, and consistent care. Her relationships contain warmth, laughter, meaningful silence, deep conversation, shared growth, and steady support. They are nurturing rather than draining. She allows others to express their emotions without judgment. Her emotional maturity gives her the capacity to hold space for someone else's experience. She does not need to fix, control, or correct their feelings. She can listen fully. She can stay calm when someone is upset. She can validate without abandoning her own perspective. This makes the people in her life feel seen, heard, and valued at a level that is uncommon. Conflicts are approached with empathy rather than defensiveness. She does not fear disagreements because she understands that conflict is a natural part of intimacy. She addresses issues when they arise instead of letting them accumulate into resentment. She focuses on understanding the underlying feelings rather than attacking the surface behavior. Her goal is resolution and reconnection, not winning. Boundaries further strengthen her relationships. She is clear about what she needs and what she cannot accept. Her boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are structures that allow relationships to remain healthy. She communicates them calmly and consistently. Those who can respect her boundaries create relationships that feel safe and reciprocal. Those who cannot naturally drift away, and she accepts that with grace. Her relationships become places where people can be themselves without fear of judgment. The people she connects with experience her presence as grounding. They feel encouraged to explore who they are, to speak honestly, to express their emotions, and to grow. Her maturity becomes an invitation for others to rise to that same level of honesty and self-awareness. Because of all this, her relationships last not because she holds onto them tightly, but because they are built on authenticity, respect, emotional truth, and mutual commitment to understanding and growth. Emotional maturity is a conscious decision that is made repeatedly. It does not happen in one defining moment, nor does it arrive simply with age or experience. It develops slowly, through intentional awareness. A woman chooses to notice her thoughts, her reactions, and her emotional patterns. She observes herself in real time, not to judge, but to understand. This awareness is the foundation upon which emotional maturity is built. Choosing growth over ego is not always comfortable. It means admitting when she is wrong, even when pride urges her to defend herself. It means acknowledging uncomfortable emotions like jealousy, insecurity, or fear without denying or minimizing them. Instead of hiding from these feelings, she examines them. She asks herself where they originate and what they are trying to communicate. This honesty with herself allows her to evolve rather than remain stuck in old patterns. Responsibility becomes central to her emotional life. She does not blame others for her reactions, nor does she outsource the work of her healing. She recognizes that while others may influence her emotions, they are not responsible for managing them. This mindset gives her power. Instead of waiting for external circumstances to change, she changes her internal interpretations and responses. She learns to navigate her emotional world with intention and awareness. Emotional maturity requires patience. Growth is not linear, and progress is not always obvious. There are days when old habits resurface or when emotional triggers feel overwhelming. But instead of seeing these moments as failures, she sees them as opportunities for deeper understanding. She knows that maturity is not about perfection, but about persistence. She does not give up on herself when growth feels slow. She continues forward with consistency. This process also involves forgiveness. She forgives herself for the times she reacted impulsively, said things she regrets, or allowed fear to guide her actions. She understands that shame does not create growth, compassion does. She learns to speak to herself with the same empathy she offers others. This internal kindness strengthens her ability to change because she no longer wastes energy on self-judgment. Her emotional maturity becomes evident in how she navigates triggers. Instead of letting triggers control her, she becomes curious about them. She asks herself why a situation evoked such a strong response and what unmet need or unresolved experience lies beneath it. She uses emotional triggers as teachers. Each trigger reveals an area that requires healing. Each moment of awareness becomes an invitation to grow deeper into herself. Over time, the gap between emotion and reaction widens. She gains the capacity to pause, evaluate, and choose her response. This does not mean she suppresses her emotions. Instead, she honors them without being ruled by them. She can feel anger without becoming destructive, sadness without becoming hopeless, and fear without becoming paralyzed. She allows emotions to move through her without letting them dictate her identity. Her relationships also reflect her commitment to emotional maturity. She no longer seeks to be right at the expense of connection. She values understanding over winning. She communicates directly rather than expecting others to read her mind. She no longer interprets vulnerability as weakness. Instead, she recognizes it as essential for meaningful connection. Her maturity allows her to form relationships that are authentic and grounded. There are moments where choosing maturity requires letting go of past versions of herself, old narratives, expired relationships, or beliefs that no longer serve her. Letting go is not abandonment or avoidance, it is acceptance. She understands that growth sometimes requires release. She trusts that making space creates room for something more aligned to take its place. Emotional maturity is not a destination but a lifelong practice. It is choosing understanding over reaction, responsibility over blame, awareness over assumption, and compassion over judgment, again and again. It is the ongoing decision to evolve, to remain open, and to continue learning from every emotional experience life presents.